Update 2.0 is here and Phantom Liberty is just around the corner. If you're jumping back into Night City for the new content, there is some things that you should be aware of. Not only is Update 2.0 a massive change to the game, but also just to prepare for Phantom Liberty next week. Let's go! Let me know in the comments if you're making a new character for the expansion or just picking up from an old one. Now that's the first thing we're going to talk about here, right? Is should you make a new character or an existing character? The official stance from CDPR is to make a new character, and that's probably a really good option because of the time delay between Update 2.0 and Phantom Liberty coming out next week. So if you start a brand new character, you'll start, exactly where you typically would. You would pick a life path and start during that life path, and you'll go through the game as you would have before Update 2.0, but now you've got all of those benefits with Update 2.0. From the police changes, the enemy AI, the new perks, the new skill changes, and all of the different gear and upgrades and stuff that has been changed, especially with cyberware. But there are two other options as well. So one of them is that you can choose the option from your menu once Phantom Liberty launches to start directly from Phantom Liberty. This is technically like starting a new character, as you'll be able to customize your looks and pick your life path still, but you'll be dropped in the world much later. There is a unique intro from Johnny Silverhand that sort of recaps the story up until that point, but you'll start at level 15 with level 15 street cred, 20k eddies, and a pretty solid ranged weapon build with some really good cyberware considering where you typically would have your cyberware at that part of the game. The downside is that you'll miss any iconic weapons or story choices that you can pick up before that point in the main story. Any side quests, gig progression, all of that stuff hasn't been done at all, so you can go and do that. But the only things that you will have missed is any iconic weapons from the main story and any say choices or different decisions that you may have been able to make before that point. So as soon as you spawn in, you'll just immediately start the Dogtown quest, but you could also go off and do the rest of the main story if you wanted to, as you'll have both Ghost Town and Down on the Street main quest to actually go and do, and then obviously all of the side quests and gigs and everything as well. If they were launching at the same time, or you don't have time to play Update 2.0 before Phantom Liberty, this is definitely a really good way to start because you've still got the rest of the main story to go, plus Johnny Silverhand gives you a recap of where you're sort of at, and it's about the middle-ish of the main story, so it's not too far. You've still got heaps to be able to do and go and do all the side quests and everything if you want to. The other option is to load an old save, and when you do, you'll get a call from Vic to go and update your cyberware, which you should be doing anyway, but you'll also then, if you have gotten to that point in the main story, you're probably at the end of the main story, right? You'll still get that same call to start the Dogtown expansion as you would if you were starting it from any other new save. Now, the difference here, though, is that your perk points will actually have been reset because of the massive changes to the perk point system. You'll still have everything else you previously did, plus the same cyberware you would have had equipped. It's just been updated to the new system, but you should definitely go to a Ripper Doc and add, remove, change things because things are very different in the new system. So what's that point in the main story that you have to get to? And it's the mission called Transmission, which is the end of the Voodoo Boys little sort of story arc as part of the main story. So once you've been to Pacifica, done the Voodoo Boys quest, you'll then get a call and Phantom Liberty will then immediately kick off from that point. There is also new content that will start appearing outside of Dogtown once you've started the Phantom Liberty content. So as soon as you have that option available to you, you should dive right in and at least do those first initial missions to then start having that content generate. But don't worry what level you're at or anything like that, as it's the same as the rest of the game. It scales to your level, so you can then dive in as soon or as late as you like, but also just you want to be prepared, right? So make sure that you do at least have a solid build and have upgraded your cyberware and done all of that stuff because it's definitely important to do. And speaking of those builds, the build planner for that CD Projekt Red has created, you absolutely should be investing in, because the main reason here is that choosing where you're going to put your attributes, right? Because of the new system and the way that it works, there are these perk thresholds of 4, 19, 15, and 20. When you hit that point in your attribute, say you get your attribute to 9 or 15 or whatever, the next tier of perks will unlock for you. So it's not really beneficial to spread your attribute points around because you won't get access to these higher tier perks until much later once you hit those thresholds. So you should sort of want to pick say one attribute or two attributes in the early game that you really want to focus on and then get those higher tier perks. And with level 60 being the new level cap, you can max out 3 attributes and get the other 2 to above above the level 9 perk threshold. So consider that when deciding what attributes you're sort of picking and where you're going to invest as well. And the last part about that is the skill changes as well. So there's now only 5 different skills that you can invest in, and you'll find skill shards in the world that'll just give you experience for them, but you'll also need to be doing like specific actions to actually get these increases, as actually improving your skills and getting these different like tier bonuses are kind of like a perk point in their own in some of them, as they give you tangible upgrades. Plus, like, they're a little bit similar to like the old system where, say, you would just be inputting perk points in to get like stat increases, that sort of a thing. But they're absolutely worth investing in. Say if you're going to be a shinobi with a sword, then really using that in combat constantly will increase that actual points, and then the more you do that, the better you'll get at actually using that build as well. So we touched on the level 60 being the new level cap, but you should be getting your street cred as high as possible. Not only does a higher street cred unlock higher tier and higher quality gear from vendors, it also gives you a discount from vendors the higher your street cred is, which is going to be a huge buff to you when you get into Phantom Liberty and into the markets there, where there is a ton of stuff to buy, and the cheaper it is, the more you'll be able to buy, because there's going to be a lot in there that you definitely want to get your hands on. There is a ton of good ways to earn XP and street cred and just general loot. Like the NCPD hustles are quick and you get a ton of loot from them, plus you just get to kill the people to get the XP and the street cred and all the loot, so you can hoover up all those weapons and go and sell them for eddies. Weapons are worth a ton of eddies, so selling them is a great way to get eddies. Gigs and side quests are also everywhere. Gigs are much shorter than side quests, as they're typically contained to a single area, so you can sort of arrive and complete them. Those side quests are a little bit more in depth, and they're also good to go just for the, the general story of it. And because of all the gear changes and how cyberware works now, with like it being the armor, you won't find clothes as often. You'll still find them in lockers and that sort of a thing, but for the most part you can kind of sell them unless you actually want to wear it as like an outfit. But anytime you have found a piece of clothing, it'll just become part of like your wardrobe, so you'll be able to then like create an outfit with it anyway. Even if you sell that piece of clothing, you just won't have it in your inventory to be able to just like wear manually if you wanted to. But also from, say, killing enemies and just finding it in the world, you'll find skill shards and money shards as well now. Money shards will just give you an influx of eddies, and then skill shards will increase your XP with specific skills. So when you defeat enemies, keep an eye out for these when you're actually looting all of the bodies. And generally speaking here, like, your eddies should be going into your cyberware for the most part, because of how armor is now tied to your cyberware, and getting those upgrades is really important to improve that, because it helps with your resistances and your overall survivability, just like the body skill does, right? Like a body skill increases your HP, but then armor increases your resistances to those actual damage coming towards you. But you saving up those eddies and bringing them into Phantom Liberty is what you should be doing. But even still, because of the way cyberware has been changed and completely redesigned, you'll still have access to all of the new cyberware mods that you can put onto your gear that'll have these stat bonuses that were previously on clothes, as well as being able to attune them to specific attributes to give you further bonuses in that way as well. But we're going to break all that down in another video. So let me know, are you excited for Phantom Liberty? What are you doing? Are you starting a new character? Are you picking up an old save? I'm really interested to know how people are going to jump into the new expansion. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.